on I-40. It's 105 miles to Graceland, and I'm just realizing that God gave me MS. Next on That's Not My God. So hey, thanks for joining me for another That's Not My God. Yeah, I'm going down Highway I-40 in Tennessee, leaving Nashville, going to Memphis, and going to check off 2 things on my bucket list. First one, Sun Studios. Second one, Graceland. And then I'm going to visit with one of my pastor friends. He's retired, almost 90 years old. He lives in Memphis. We're going to go for some barbecue tonight. But did I get your attention with that MS? Yeah, a year ago, March, I went into the doctor. He referred me to neurology. I had headaches and some other things going on. And they ran a CAT scan. MRI, same thing. Okay, maybe it's not. If you're a medical purist, then it's not. So I get the MRI done, and they end up coming back to me and they say, okay, we'll do a follow-up in 6 weeks to let you know what we found out, and just go ahead and go home and enjoy the rest of your day. I didn't even get home. It was like a half hour, 40 minutes into my ride home, and they called me and said, we need to see you right away. What happened was they did an MRI and found 5 lesions on my brain, which is what they ultimately diagnosed as multiple sclerosis. And ever since then, my life's been kind of flipped over. And, it's one of these things that people, when they get these diagnoses, depends on who they are and what they believe. They will sometimes say, why, God, did you give this to me? Well, that's the name of this podcast, That's Not My God. Now, right away, I looked at the situation, and I got to tell you, when you get a phone call from that, as in the words of the great Christian artist Steve Taylor, when the doctor starts whistling Happy Trails, it tends to take a bit of wind out of your sails. And so I went in and we talked for a little bit about MS and what it's all about. And there's progressive and then there's non-progressive. And the progressive is, hey, you know what, a couple months, maybe a year, you're going to be in a wheelchair, and it's just going to be a downward slope from there. There's also the slow-moving kind, which thankfully is the kind that I have. Now, I look at that situation, I say, God, where are you in this? Let me fast forward to another story. 2 years ago exactly today, now it's May 19th, so I'm pre-recording this one so that we can get it up on the forum here. My friend Katie woke up 4 a.m. in the morning, having just heart stopped and couldn't breathe anymore. Her husband tried to get her going again, and basically had to call the ambulance, and the ambulance came and had to revive her twice at her house. And my friend Ben, guy from my church that I pastor, he called me, and I live right across the street from the hospital, so 4 in the morning, I bolt out my door, don't even get in my car, I just run, and I'm running across the parking lot, and as I go into the emergency room, they've shocked her back to life, but she's still laying there. She went 6 minutes without oxygen to her brain, and it was just a horrendous sight. And as we're sitting there in the waiting room, actually in the emergency room, you could hear the helicopter coming in because they had to fly her out to the bigger city, bigger hospital where they specialize in brain trauma. 2 weeks into it, they said, you know what, there's no activity. What we're picking up is brainstem activity. And they were going to pull the plug. And with the family's okay, they did that. And so we went in there one by one. And keep in mind, up until this point, we've been praying for her. Not just like on Facebook, click, praying for you, no, not that. We were in her room praying for her. I called a prayer meeting. It was people from all walks of faith having a prayer meeting. And when we went in to say our goodbyes, I remember my wife and I was in the room with her. She was brain dead. They were pulling the plugs. The hospital in Madison, one of the college hospitals, was literally en route to harvest her organs. And it was at that point my wife said, Katie, open your eyes. And she did. The nurse came in, they said, well, that could be a brain misfiring, and they said, this is the key, and they said, Katie, close your eyes. She closed her eyes. She came back to us. I was in the room for one of those stories that you usually only hear from missionaries or reading books. God brought her back to life. I say these 2 stories because all is grace. I look at my story. Yeah, I have multiple sclerosis. I had a bad attack this week. Lost some of my walking and taking steps. It really threw me off this week, but all is grace. I mean, God has blessed me with a great family. God has blessed me with a great kids. I have 2 adopted kids, and then just 4 months after my diagnosis, guess what I found out at 41 years old when we were ready to give up, that my wife is pregnant. All is grace, and it's okay. And so Katie comes back to us. She has limited function, but her memory's there. She can talk. She's working on walking. All is grace. She still has her beautiful family. She still has a great church that she's a part of, and what a testimony for both of us of what God has done in our lives. And it all comes back to that verse, doesn't it? That God works all things together for the good of those that serve Him. So, did God give me MS? No. Did God give Katie a heart attack and brain problems and all that stuff? No. But all is grace, and God redeems these situations and uses them for the good of those that serve Him. Love to hear your thoughts on this one. What did God do for you that at first you're like, why God? But then you realized all is grace, and God stepped in and everything was good. Love to hear from you. Talk to you soon. Bye.